Reiterating that how incredibly tragic this is, and we've got a lot of families that are clearly devastated by what happened here, and we need to be sensitive to that. And I want it put out to those families out there that our prayers are with them, and that we are here to support them any way that we can. Some updated numbers. Same as yesterday, we have 14 people that are confirmed dead in this incident. The number of wounded has risen from 17 to 21, and they are being treated at various local hospitals. We were asked yesterday about the number of officers that responded. We are still compiling the total number of officers that responded here at 11 o'clock when the initial call of the shooting went out. Our rough count right now is about 300 officers from local, county, state, and federal agencies that responded for the initial active shooter component of this and helped deal with the crime scene here. Many of those assets also moved and were part of the investigation and the officer-involved shooting that followed. Here at the scene at the Inland Regional Center, what we have total is we believe the suspects, when they entered, fired somewhere between 65 and 75 rounds from their rifles at the scene. We did locate the one pipe bomb. There was actually 3 pipe bombs combined into one that had a remote control car type remote control device that appears to have not have worked in this case. There were also 4 high capacity 223 rifle magazines that were dropped by the suspects and left in there as evidence that have been recovered. I can confirm that the suspects were wearing the black style tactical gear that we talked about yesterday. They were not wearing ballistic bulletproof vests. What they did have, and what people may have confused, is they had tactical style vests that held equipment and magazines and ammunition and that sort of stuff. Sorry? Load-bearing gear. Yeah, load-bearing gear. On the officer-involved shooting that took place a couple of hours after the incident, we talked yesterday about how that came to be, how we ended up at that point in the investigation, and what we were following up on. On the officer-involved shooting that occurred, we had 7 police agencies that were involved in that shooting, including our department, the Sheriff's Department. I think we had 14 of our police officers involved. And then there were various other agencies that were all part of some of the local task force that had come to assist in the initial response. Of the 7 agencies involved, we had 23 officers that were actually fired their weapons at the suspects. Law enforcement fired approximately 380 rounds at the suspects. Both of them were killed here at the scene. The suspects are believed to have fired about 76 rifle rounds at the officers at the termination of the pursuit.
How many?
76 is our number that we have right now. However, on them, on their person, on their body, and in the vehicle, they had over 1,400 .223 caliber rounds that were available to them, and they had over 209 millimeter rounds on their persons as well. 209 millimeter rounds. We talked about yesterday they had the 223 assault style weapons, rifles, and they had 9mm pistols with them.
You said 1,400 on the 223?
1,400 on the 1,400 223 rounds, 200 9mm rounds.
On their person, 200?
On their person, yes. On their person or immediately in the vehicle around and available to them. Let me get to a few others. We had 2 officers that were injured in that incident. One of them was a Samuel police officer that sustained a gunshot wound to his left leg. He was taken to a local hospital last night. He is probably going to be released this morning if he has not already been released. His injuries are not life-threatening. I did visit with him in the hospital last night. He's in good spirits. We also, as of this morning, learned that there was a second deputy that was also injured in the incident, sustained some cuts to his leg that we believe probably came from broken glass or shrapnel. We're not exactly sure, but 2 officers total were injured in that exchange. The house in Redlands that became part of the focus of this investigation yesterday. I will confirm that the search that took place revealed that there were 12 pipe bomb type devices found in that house or in the garage to that house. There were also hundreds of tools, many of which could be used to construct IEDs or pipe bombs. And in addition to that, they had other material to have produced some additional bombs as well. There were another 2,000 9mm rounds found at that house, over 2,500 223 rounds that were found at that house, and then there were 2,500, and there were additional several hundred 22 long rifle rounds that were found there. So with that, I'm here to talk about the specifics of the investigation and what we discovered evidence-wise. I think the FBI's got some comments to make a little bit later in this. Do you have any questions for me?
Do you believe they were planning another attack?
We don't know. Clearly they were equipped and they could have continued to do another attack. We intercepted them before that happened, obviously.
Any other suspects or people of interest you want to talk to? Somebody had to know about this.
So the investigation is still going on, and I don't think we're prepared to talk about other people that we might be looking for. We are confident that the two people that were involved in the shooting here are the two dead suspects that we have at the scene, and we do not have any credible information to indicate that there is an immediate threat to anybody in the area or anybody in the region.
Talk about this remote control car.
Can't hear everybody. Brian?
The remote control car that was with the pipe bombs. Can you elaborate what that was?
So I'm not an expert on it. It's my understanding that somehow it was three pipe bombs that were attached together, somehow attached to this remote control car, and it was designed that the remote control device would somehow trigger or set that device off. We don't know if they attempted to do that and it failed or what the story is.
So, you know, was he
car
making
that
like
was
remote
driving,
control?
that was moving?
It was found in a bag that was there at the scene.
Was Jarrod in contact with terrorists via email, via social media?
I'm going to let the FBI address those particular issues.
Your interviews, sir, based
The
on
GoPro is not confirmed. We do not have any information the suspects had any GoPros on them,
sir, based on your
or any cameras of any sort that was on them.
based on your interviews with all the eyewitnesses, can you tell us exactly what happened in the room, and do you still believe that there was some dispute and they left and came back? This seems very much pre-planned.
So we have people in the room that have indicated that the suspect was in the room during the early part of this meeting or party type event. It was a county public health Christmas holiday type gathering luncheon is what it was. He was part of that. He was there early on and he left. We did have some initial information that he left under some kind of duress or as if he was angry. We also had somebody else say that, you know, he just kind of disappeared and we don't know where he went from there. So I don't know that we know enough about that yet, but we will confirm that he was there early on.
And do you have any motive for this shooting, sir? Do you have any motive?
We still don't have the motive.
How they got in the building? Were they targeting anyone in particular?
So the building that this took place in, I'm sure you guys all have aerial views of IRC and what it is. So this took place in the southernmost building on the property. The doors that they entered were located on the east side. So they entered from that parking lot into those east doors, which went directly into the room, which is where the shooting took place. Those doors were unlocked. It was an open party to those folks.
Do you know how much time elapsed when he left the party? And
Well, they sprayed the room with bullets, so I don't know that there was any one person that they ultimately targeted. They killed 14 people there.
Chief, is there any indication that
any idea how long time elapsed when he supposedly got this argument, left, and any idea where his wife was throughout the
You know, I have to apologize. I meant to follow up on that question, and I failed to ask that today. Yesterday, we had information that is anywhere from 10 minutes to 30 minutes. I'll try to tie that up by later on in the day.
Chief, it seems hard to believe that all of this was spontaneous. And how can he get
Oh no, we said yesterday that there appears to be a degree of planning that went into this. Nobody just gets upset at a party, goes home and puts together that kind of an elaborate scheme or plan to come back and do that. So there was some planning that went into this.
is there any indication, please sir, is there any indication of how long they had been stockpiling like rounds of based on what Bernardino
I don't think we are far enough into the investigation to really be able to definitively say what that pattern has been or every place that they have been and what they've been doing over the last several months or several years. That's the part that we're still working on though.
Did he have a grudge against his coworkers that you were able to find out about?
Not that I'm personally aware of, but I think at some point later today we'll probably have a comment from his employer in the county to talk about some of those issues.
Legally possess that much ammo?
He was no longer an employee, right, at the center. Why was he invited back to this point?
It's my understanding he was still an employee of the county.
Where did he buy his guns from, do you know?
The guns were legally purchased. The two handguns were purchased by him. The rifles were not, but those are components that we are still following up on. All four guns were legally purchased.
Can you talk about what exchange have a record?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, was he known to police or did he have a record?
There's no criminal record that he had that we're aware of.
Chief, tell us about the getaway car. We're told, we heard some reports there was a Utah license plate. Any idea on how it was acquired, what
It was a black Ford Excursion, the big Expedition or Explorer? Expedition, I'm sorry, a black Ford Expedition. It was a rental car. He rented it 3 or 4 days ago. It was actually due to be returned yesterday. That's why it had Utah plates, but it was rented locally.
Where did he rent it?
About his travels overseas, is there any connection that something was in the plans by that trip?
I'll let the FBI discuss that. Those are things that they're working on.
Chief, have you been able to identify all the victims and notify next of kin?
So our plan today is we're going to do a morning press conference. Throughout the course of the day, Sheriff McMahon and the coroner's office is going to start releasing the names of the victims. We've been working throughout the night to get identity of those folks and then make notifications. So we will start to put those names out here fairly soon. We're going to probably try to get some pictures out for you as well and probably try to move the media a little closer to the scene for you. And then we'll come back and do a press conference later on. But throughout the course of the day, we anticipate we'll start releasing the names of the victims.
Were they county employees, the victims?
I do not know if they all were. Several of them we believe are.
Yesterday you talked about the resolve of your officers, the heroic actions they took in the field. Can you talk a little bit about this community and how you see them being able to move on past this in the coming days?
You know, I read an article by one of the reporters in the press, the Sun, this morning, and she talked about the resiliency of this community. And the fact everybody knows San Bernardino's been beaten up with the bankruptcy and some of the things that have hit this community, and economically this community's been hit hard. But this is a pretty resilient community. We will survive this. We've had an enormous groundswell of support from our neighboring communities and well wishes that have come in from all over the place. I do know that there is a candlelight vigil planned later tonight. I believe it's at the stadium on East Street. And I think you'll see evidence there of a tremendous amount of support and people that are going to come together and support. As far as the officers, everything that I've seen and all the officers from my department that I've contacted, they're doing extraordinarily well. I'll tell you, as the chief of this agency, I'm incredibly proud of the way that our folks responded. Not only the initial response here and the help that we got from our local and regional partners, but for the way that they also engaged in that officer-involved shooting and chasing down those suspects. That was nothing short of heroic, and extremely proud of the way that they handled that.
Chief, were your officers wearing body cams?
The guns were legally purchased, but is it legal to have those long guns here in California? Yes. Are those?
So I think there's some questions still about whether they were California legal or not. We have not gotten to the bottom of that, and I'll let ATF address that later on. But we do know at this point that the 4 guns were purchased, appeared to be a legal purchase, and appeared to be registered.
Chief, were your officers wearing body cams?
None of our officers had body cams. I don't know about all the other agencies.
Who was living in the Redlands that much ammunition legally?
The child, is the child in custody somewhere?
I'm not sure where the child is. I know that they had a 6-month-old child. I don't know exactly where she is. Brian?
Can you possess that much ammunition legally?
I don't think we have restrictions on the volume of ammunition. You may educate me on that, but I'm not aware of any law that dictates.
Anything on the ammunition that was illegal other than the thing using?
Offhand, I'm not specifically aware of anything that was against the law there.
Chief, can you tell us more about the search of the Redland home, what you're looking for, what else you may have found beside the ammunition that helps you in seeking the motive?
And who lived there?
So the suspect and both suspects were listed on the rental agreement for the property. As I said yesterday, I don't know that we can definitively say that they were living there or if they were living elsewhere and what exactly that house was used for. The house became a focus of the investigation based upon information that we had from witnesses that identified him as an employee that was there that they thought was potentially involved. And it was follow-up that we had done connected to that person that took us to that house, led us to that vehicle, which resulted in us in the following and the pursuit and the shooting that happened. Obviously, once we were involved in that, the house became a primary focus. So we took our time in securing it, making sure we went in that house, we cleared it safely. That's where we discovered the other pipe bombs, and I think some other evidence, computer evidence, cell phones, things like that have been recovered from there in various other places. I think there's a lot of helpful information that we've gotten from a number of areas.
How many teams are active right now?
Meaning those people who gave you help, have they been able to provide you with any kind of an accounting of how many people were going in and out of that house other than the 2 people who lived there? Was there a pattern of men coming, going at all times?
We're still working and trying. Obviously, I think we've heard the rumors that you guys have heard, and we've got some information, but I think we're still trying to verify that. Keep in mind that I'm pretty careful that when I come up here, as I said yesterday, information that went out yesterday is likely to change today and tomorrow and so on. I mean, already the wounded number has changed. I want to be as accurate as we possibly can, and a lot of that type of stuff ends up being speculation or hearsay, and I'd like to confirm it before we say it.
Regarding the phones and the computers that were taken that have been searched, is there anything you can shed or talk they knew?
So there's been a number of electronic items from thumb drives to computers and cell phones that have been taken. I don't think we've completed the analysis on them yet, so I don't know what, if any, they've actually completed yet.
Can you